Happy bank holiday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of What Do You Call It podcast. I'm your host, GB, and my guest today is Glasgow-born, world-traveling blood tourist. You have seen him in ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, which can now be viewed on the WWE Network, and the Tag Team, the Fight Network. And basically, please just fix up, because my guest is looking sharp. How you doing today, mate? You all right?
I'm good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on. Looking forward to it.
No, thank you for coming on today, mate. So basically, we're just going to have a little chit-chat, basically about you, what got you into wrestling, essentially what have been your favourite moments, and just basically go from there, really. So, believe it or not, by the way, I'm actually a fellow Scotsman. I'm not just saying that. Right. Basically, half my family's from Dundee, so I just thought I'd throw it out there. No accent, no. But thought I'd share that. So we're here today to talk to you. So sadly, if we had actually recorded this a few weeks ago, I would have announced you as a current ICW Tag Team Champion. But unfortunately, you lost that recently. But you did hold it for over a year. Can you talk to us basically, before we do talk about your career and go back in time, what was that like for you? Because you was actually the champion. Well, we're still going at the moment during the pandemic. So what was it like for you to hold the belts?
I mean, it was something that we'd worked hard for a long time. I'm glad that we got to win them in front of a crowd. It was one of the last sort of shows that we did before the pandemic sort of came in. It was just a couple of months before. I believe there was only one ICW show after we had won them originally. So and we had missed that show. It was always a plan for us not to be there. So we didn't actually defend them until that cage match where we lost them. So obviously,
I didn't want to mention that.
It wasn't the most ideal of reigns. So it wasn't the most ideal reign. But I'm more than confident that we're going to get the tag titles back and we're going to give the people the reign that they wanted to see. I think us having the tag titles in the first place was the whole reason we were ever in that picture was because the people put us there, and people were vocal and said that they wanted to see us in the tag title picture. And like I said, I'm confident we're going to come back and we're going to give them that live run that they wanted to see.
Sweet, man. I do hope you get the belts. I'm not just saying that because you're my guest, but I am a genuine fan as well.
I appreciate that.
So let's go back to the beginning a little bit. And what made you a wrestling fan?
So most people, the first sort of wrestling they ever seen was WWE. I was a bit different. My uncle was a big wrestling fan. So the first ever wrestling I'd ever seen was Sabu putting himself through a table.
Really?
He was watching an ECW DVD.
Yeah.
That's my earliest memory of seeing it anyway, is watching Sabu put himself through a table on an ECW DVD. And I remember being like sort of entranced with the madness of it. And obviously he knew that ECW wouldn't really be appropriate, but if I was into this whole wrestling thing, so he was showing me WWE, and right away I've always been into like superheroes and that kind of stuff, comic books. So right away I was sort of entranced with the Hurricane, with Rey Mysterio and these sort of with what seemed to me as a child to be these real life superheroes. Especially the Hurricane. And then obviously, as time went on, I got into guys like Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam and a lot of smaller guys. I feel like I could relate to them more than the likes of like Kane and Triple H, guys like that. And it, like as I started to discover the British scene, somebody that I took a lot of inspiration from was Rockstar Spud. He was like the first time I'd ever seen a wrestler who, like, Rey Mysterio was maybe the same height as me, but Rey Mysterio was still jacked,
Yeah.
But Rockstar Spud, I was like, no, he looks like me. So he was somebody I was always a big fan of. But I think in terms of like what made me become a wrestling fan, it's just really the madness of it all. Just the sort of it's trash TV, you know what I mean? And that's, I think I try to bring that across in my own wrestling, and I try to bring across the stuff that got me into it, and again that is just the madness of the whole thing.
So I will speak about it eventually, but so that sort of explains why you're in ICW, and it's just a perfect combination for you.
Absolutely.
Like the perfect location for you. No, that's cool, man. didn't expect Sabu as an answer, because normally it's like, oh, it's either Hogan slamming Andre or Austin doing that. Fair enough, Sabu going for a table. That's wicked,
quite a unique introduction.
So you were a wrestling fan, but what actually made you want to become a wrestler in the first place? Because you've been doing it for about nearly 10 years now. Can you just basically go into a bit of detail as to what made you want to become a wrestler and how you located the was it Premier British Wrestling Academy?
Premier British Wrestling, I trained under originally. So I don't really. I started wrestling really young.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was just before my 12th birthday or something like that. Like, so I was, really, really young. And a lot of people have this sort of story like, oh, I watched this match or I done this or that, and it made me decide, oh, I'm going to go and be a wrestler. And they went and found a training school. Like, I don't really remember what made me want to be a wrestler, because I don't ever remember not wanting to be one. Like, as far back as I can remember, it's all I've ever wanted to do. And it was just always like my uncle had done a couple of training sessions and stuff, and I always knew that you could sort of train here. A lot of people sort of didn't really know about a British scene, but I was always kind of aware of it. So I just knew as soon as I was old enough to, or at least old enough that I could blag it, like I was getting there. So I showed up just before my 12th birthday and started training in Barhead, and just went from there. Just fell in love with it. I've done a lot of training. Obviously, with the Premier British Wrestling Academy, there was a lot of seminars coming in and out. So I was lucky enough to do seminars with guys like Paul London, Prince Devitt, or Finn Balor, sorry, Zack Sabre Jr., Drew McIntyre. So there was always big names coming in and out. So I was really lucky in the sense of I got so many different perspectives from so many different people. And again, with so many different faces coming in, it showed me that there's a lot of different scenes. It's one of the things that made me want to expand for an early age as well and get traveling about and that kind of stuff. But I think even from a young age, and while I was training, I wanted to train everywhere that I could. I went and done some training in Denmark, and I think that obviously worked really well for me in the long run. I'd done a week sort of intense training seminar over there. And
what was that like for you? Just in terms of was there like any real differences to how they train in Denmark as to how they train here? Well, Scotland for you, sorry, England.
So it was like nothing I'd ever done before. And they do it regularly, and eventually I went on to coach a similar thing for a different Danish promotion. But basically what it is, it's Dansk Pro Wrestling's Faker Break sort of camp that they do each year. And it's you wake up, get breakfast, so say maybe wake up at 8 or 9, get breakfast, start training at 10, and then that's you right up until lunch, maybe say 1 or 2, you get a quick half hour, and then that's you right back in training until, I don't know, maybe 8 o'clock at night. So you're just wrestling all day for an entire week.
It's quite intense.
Yeah, and then there's a show at the end of it that they do. I thought it was a brilliant experience for me, and it's just, so you go in and you stay in the venue, so you're like just like a sort of sleeping bag on the floor kind of thing, and so it's quite gritty, I guess. But I loved it. I fell in love with it. It was one of the things that made me fall in love with the Danish scene in general. Right from then, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. I think one of the good things about wrestling is it is so international.
Yeah,
and it's like a universal language. So even though, most of them do speak English, but even though some of the guys spoke German or Danish, or the people come from all over to do these. I feel like when we got in and wrestled, it's like a universal language. You know what I mean? Like wrestling doesn't change much. It's just, how the people that are doing it. But everybody on the Danish scene they're really hard working. They don't get to wrestle as much as we do in the UK. Obviously, a lot of young guys who are just starting out are even used to wrestling a couple of times a month at least, whereas some of the top guys in Denmark are only wrestling once a month at times, just because there just isn't as much wrestling in that country. But what I think it does for them is when they do get the chance to wrestle,
They appreciate it.
They really appreciate it, and they're giving 110%. You know what I mean? Like they've been waiting all month for this. They don't get shows where they can just go out and half-ass it and give like 50%. They're giving everything every time because they're buzzing for it. You know what I mean? They've been wanting it.
Yeah.
I think that really shows just in their sort of work ethic and stuff. And when you see them in the ring, you can always tell that they really care about it. But I think going over and training over there is definitely it definitely gave me a sort of leg up. I met a lot of people. I met people in Finland. I met people from Sweden, and used those sort of contacts later on in my career. So I would definitely recommend, for any sort of young wrestlers that are listening to go and, try something like this out. I know they do it in different countries. And in Denmark, they still do the same one I did at DPW. They do Fake or Break. And then I went on to run my own one with CCW, Copenhagen Championship Wrestling. I work quite closely with them. So hopefully, we'll do something again similar. But I would definitely recommend for any sort of young wrestlers listening, go out and put your face out there and try to make the connections, because they're not going to come and find you. You need to go and find them.
No, I really like that, mate. I was just going to say, did you see a lot of people dropping out? Because, if it's quite intense and you're quite new to it, I can understand if that was a bit too much, but for you to sort of enjoy that, but also appreciate it looking back.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it is hard. And again, obviously it depends. They bring in a different guest each year, so I mean it can depend on the guest. But when I done it, it was pretty intense. It was pretty hard going, and I think the numbers did only slightly, but they did dwindle a bit. Some people just can't keep up with it, but I guess that's almost kind of the point of putting the show at the end of it, is it weeds out the people who only kind of want it, you know what I mean? And then the people who are still there at the end, that's the guys who wanted it. That's the guys who have worked for it, and those are the guys that are going to put on a better show for you. But I loved everything about it. I think it was a life experience for me. I think I was only maybe 15, 16 when I did it. So I would
that young.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when I debuted when I was 15, not long before my 16th birthday. And as soon as I got the chance, I was out.
Did they know your age, just out of curiosity, or did you
they
do like
did, yeah, they,
Oh, okay.
No, they knew. Because I remember they were like, "Oh, we have this big party at this bar, like after the show," and I'm like, "Yes, let's do it!" And one of the other guys who was with me was like, "Oh, he's only 16." And I was like, "Oh, mate,"
grass.
I thought I was gonna have a big mad one abroad, but it was not to be.
That's cool, man. I just want to talk about your first match. I want to know what that was like for you. How nervous were you? Basically, what was your process for it, and what was the feedback that you personally received for it after? Was that against Kenny Williams, or was that?
Yes, my first match was Kenny Williams.
Oh, it was, okay.
So that was for Premier British Wrestling at their Academy Attack shows that they used to run. So they were running these basically trainee shows, sort of family and friends kind of thing. But I think they would open. There was a few tickets that were sold to the public kind of thing. But Kenny had been doing, he'd been up and down the UK by that point. He was making his name and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was definitely in with somebody good. And yeah, he walked me through it. I was terrified by all means. But again, I think I had like 30, 40 people, like friends and family showing up just to kind of see me. So I had a lot of support.
That's pretty cool.
So I had a lot of support. All my friends and family coming to see my first match and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it definitely, even when you are scared, that sort of that buzz that gives you, that kind of adrenaline keeps you going. I had I had a manager and a valet at the time as well, who are close friends from the training school. So again, I was surrounded by a lot of good people, good sort of good vibes in general. Do you know what I mean? So I really enjoyed it. Because for my first match, I think it could have went a lot worse.
Yeah.
By no means was it a classic, but I didn't injure anyone. I didn't get hurt. And I don't think anything was a complete disaster. So I don't know.
And you're still here as well, so
Yeah, exactly. I'm still going, so it couldn't have been that bad.
That's cool, man. Just before I do talk about your ICW debut, I just want to sort of talk about the various companies that you've wrestled for, including Defiant Wrestling,
Yeah,
at Henry Mania. I just want to know what have been some of your favorite companies to wrestle in, and also some of your favorite locations, because I know like this is the Garage. It's quite a unique wrestling. Like it's become like the ECW arena in the UK. But I just want to know,
Oh
like,
yeah, absolutely.
just basically want to know other places, other companies, just that stood out to you, and places that you'd like to return to one day.
Absolutely. Actually, like you were saying about the garage is like nothing else in the entire world, and I'll take any chance I get to to talk about it. Like the crowd in the garage, there's nothing else like it in the entire world. It's a completely unique experience. I think it's a very Glaswegian experience as well, which I think is kind of cool.
It looks awesome, man. It really
But
does.
they're rowdy and they're always into it. And if they're not, they'll let you know. You know what I mean? It's a very unique crowd. And again, there's nothing else in the world that compares to it. In terms of promotions that I worked for, one of them, one of them said that I really enjoyed was, it wasn't Defiant when I worked for them, it was still What Culture Pro Wrestling.
Oh yeah.
But
sorry.
I mean, I had a lot of fun working there. The shows that they were putting on at that time were brilliant. It was good to be a part of that. But one thing for me that's always been my most important thing is traveling, getting out and about, and just trying to experience as many different sort of wrestling scenes as possible. So as much as I enjoy working for places like ICW and What Culture and stuff, I do like to go to kind of newer scenes. Like I went and I done some stuff out in China for OWE. That was a brilliant experience.
What was that like? Like the language barrier? I mean, the culture. I mean, how was it for you?
The language barrier played a big part of it. I mean, we had to plan our matches like 2 days in advance because they didn't speak a word of English. So you had to walk through what you wanted to do and make sure that everyone was kind of understanding it. So it was like very heavily like rehearsed and stuff because of the language barrier. And just there was a lot of cultural differences and stuff. It took a lot of getting used to. I mean, I think I lived on Papa John's and McDonald's for like 2 months because I was just not feeling the Chinese food. And
like your own supersize me.
But I mean, what was really cool about it was, I thought it was really unique in the sense of it was like going back in time and going back to one of these like Puerto Rico in the 70s or something, where they still believe it and they still think wrestling's real because it's the first time they've ever seen it. So like there was one night, me and my tag partner Rob Sharp, we beat the baby faces or what? No, sorry, they beat us, and they're getting the hand raised, and I jumped them with a chair after the match, like pretty standard heel kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And I turn around and this big massive Chinese guy's like swinging at me, and security are like pulling away, and another guy tries to run in, and basically everyone's kicking off, and they're like, "Get backstage right now!" So we get rushed away, taken away. And it gets to the halftime, and I'm like, right, I'm going to go and have a cigarette. So I went to go outside to smoke, and the booker runs around. And he's like, no, far too dangerous. He's like, there's people waiting outside for you. You can't leave. And I'm like, all right, okay. So I had to stay in the building.
Yeah.
And we stayed like walking distance from it was the same venue each week, and our flat was walking distance from there. So we tried to leave after the show, and again the booker's like, no, there's an angry crowd outside, you still can't leave. We had to hang about for like an hour until people left, because they just seen us as these big evil foreigners who'd come in.
They wanted your head.
Yeah. Like these big evil foreign guys who came and cheated the good Chinese people. You know what I mean?
It's been awesome.
It was brilliant.
I mean, scary at the time, but still, like,
absolutely, like it's totally unique though. Like, there's nowhere else in the world really left that you can get that kind of experience and that kind of atmosphere from people where they're really believing that you're doing something wrong to them. You know what I mean? And getting people so angry that they feel like they need to help these people. You know what I mean? It's cool. But one of the other places I really enjoy traveling to is Denmark, as I've been saying. But I work quite closely with Copenhagen Championship Wrestling, and that in itself has been an amazing experience. It's been a brilliant learning experience for me as well. They first brought me in as a coach when I done a week intensive seminar as well. And after that, I just sort of became a regular part of the roster, just sort of slowly, just more and more regular to the point I'm there constantly now. But I'm also working as a producer, helping put some of the matches together, that kind of thing. Helping just try and make it more of a TV show, as well as, you know, still keeping up the kind of coaching aspects of it. And I do a lot with the social media. I do commentary, so it's just I'm wearing a lot of different hats there. And it's a good chance for me to experience different roles in wrestling, sort of build my own CV, but also to get to be part of a promotion that's rising like from the ground up. Like when I first went to CCW, we wrestled in the Carlsberg Brewery, and there must have only been about 20 people. Now they're selling out. Their show is 400 people. It's really they're on TV in Denmark on Christiania TV. So it's just blown up. And just I feel like I've been really lucky to get in at such an early stage, and to get to grow alongside CCW. And anytime I can help, mate, and I can offer to it, I do. And I feel like I've been really, really lucky to get in there so early and to be part of something that I do genuinely feel is going to be. I feel like British wrestling's boomed a couple of times.
Yeah.
German wrestling's kind of boomed with WXW. And we've seen different scenes in Europe kind of have their moment, but I feel like Denmark's the next one. I feel like the Scandinavia in general. I feel like there's a lot more eyes slowly going on to the Scandinavian wrestling scene, slowly catching on to it, and I feel like that's the one to be watching right now.
If you could recommend a few wrestlers from Denmark, for those that are listening that may not be familiar, I'm not going to pretend I am. So it's very interesting to hear that though, because I'm sort of open to good wrestling.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
So if you could name a few for me, that'd be great, mate.
So I think the sort of main guy in Denmark, you got Nitro Green. He's a European Cruiserweight champion. I'll be challenging him for that belt at some point next year. There'll be one match taking place in Scotland, one taking place in Denmark. So he's definitely something to check out, Nitro Green. There's Sebastian Day, who is the CCW champion for a very long time. And then, of course, there's a guy who beat him for it, which is a Copenhagen Hangman. So those are your sort of three main guys in CCW. You got Pete Phoenix as well. Siam Ashfaq, again, another two brilliant talents. They were a tag team for a long time, recently split and have been having a feud, which has been really interesting, seeing some really sort of different stuff, sort of trying to bring a wee bit more hardcore wrestling to Denmark as well, which is cool to see. It's cool to see they two doing that. And then you got the founding father of Danish wrestling, Chaos, who's been everywhere. Like, if you can think of an obscure country, he has wrestled there. Like, he's done it all. He was on Denmark's Got Talent at one point, doing his thing, and yeah, it's all in the name with him.
What did he do on there, by the way? I'm quite curious now.
It's a bit wild. They go on and scoop slam each other on the stage and bang each other's heads off the buzzers, and it was not a good representation of the Danish wrestling scene. But no, definitely not. But Chaos looked like he was having fun doing it. And
exposure at the end of the day, isn't it?
One of the best hardcore wrestlers in Europe, 100%.
That's cool, man. I'll keep an eye out, because even with like watching wrestling in Japan, I don't actually have an English commentary. So as long as wrestling's good, that sounds good, man.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's a universal language.
I was going to say as well, because you're saying about, you know, you're basically quite versatile in wrestling now, being a producer, and it's pretty good. You know, just, I mean, God forbid, but if anything does happen, you can still do these other roles. I just want to talk about the online dojo that you have. You know, if you could talk about some of the guests that you have had it on it. Sorry, let me try that again. Have had on it, and what sort of basically made you want to run your own dojo?
So it really all came about out of nowhere for me. I didn't expect none of it. Basically, some of the kind of local guys, obviously the PBW Academy shut down, and these guys were sort of left without anybody to train. And there was other schools in Scotland where their guys had been offered sort of online courses and stuff, and the guys who had been previously training at PBW were obviously left out with nothing, kind of. so they'd been saying that they wanted to do some online training, and eventually I was like, right, okay, well, I'll give it a try. I'd never done any online seminars, any online coaching at all. I'm not a very techie person, like in the slightest. But I seen that they wanted it, and I was like, all right, I'll do it just for free, I'll just do it. And obviously I'm helping out at CCW as well, Copenhagen. So I reached out to those guys, and I was like, look, here's the way that you guys can do some training with me while I'm stuck over here, kind of thing. Due to obviously no sort of travel during the pandemic. So while I'm here, you can do this online class. And eventually I ended up, I had like 60 people in a group chat for this class, and I was like, look, I'm just going to make like a private group for like just for this class, kind of thing. And more people kept joining it, and they were inviting people and everything else, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna just make something of this. I started looking. One of the reasons I started looking at guests was I was like, I could teach these guys every week on my own and give them my own perspective, or I'll give them my perspective on the group. I'll weigh in with some posts now and then, and I give them advice. And if people want me to review stuff or look at matches, look at CVs, that kind of stuff, I do that kind of stuff. So I'm the constant. I'm always there. But I was like, in terms of the actual classes or the actual like Zoom calls and stuff, I wanted to get them a different guest each week. Because I want them to get as many different point of views as possible, as many different perspectives, because I don't know everything, and no one does. One of the things that I says on the group the other day is no one can teach everything.
Yeah.
And anyone who does tell you they can teach everything is lying to you. Like, it's as simple as that. You need to train with as many different people as possible, and sometimes they might give you an opinion that you don't really agree with. That's fine. You can discard that one thing, but take the other thing that you learn from them and keep that and add that to your repertoire. You know what I mean? So right away, obviously most of the guys are based in Europe.
Yeah.
We have guys in China, we have guys in Taiwan, and Hong Kong, all over the place. But mostly there's some guys in America, but there's mostly guys in Europe and obviously in the UK. So I was like, right, I want to try and get some people that they won't have had the chance to train with before. So one of the first guests I got on, well, I done one myself, and then I had Krieger doing a class. But the first sort of international guest we got on was Selena De La Renta from MLW.
Yeah.
Which was an amazing class. She had a brilliant perspective because she's the executive producer for MLW. So in terms of like what these big sort of companies that are offering contracts and stuff are looking for, she's the one that can tell you what's going to catch their eye. And that was a brilliant class, like really, really good. And we followed that up with a class with Buffer, I'd met Buffer when I was living in Shanghai. And he'd done a lot of work with the likes of 01 and FMW and a lot of sort of your big Japanese promotions. And even at that, he also worked for the like CZW and stuff while he was based in the States originally. And again, he put on another excellent class.
Yeah.
So I've been really happy with the quality of the classes, because I'm watching these classes and I'm taking notes and I'm going, why didn't I think of this? How didn't I know this before? And I think when I was training, I didn't really feel like I had that kind of option. And we had guest classes that were every so often, and there was a lot of them because I trained for a long time.
Yeah.
But on the week to week basis, it was you were getting the same person's point of view. Whereas with this, I'm hoping that every single week they're learning something completely new and completely fresh. You know what I mean? I think my sort of big goal overall with it, like 10 years down the line, is like, why couldn't this be open university for wrestling? You know what I mean? Where if you wanna learn lucha libre, you don't necessarily need to go to Mexico. You can learn some of that on a class with Hector Guerrero at the LKS dojo. You know what I mean? Or you want to learn some sort of strong style stuff, where you can learn that from Buffer at the LKS dojo. You know what I mean? It's just it's a tool that anybody all over the world can use, and you can learn a million different styles from a million different people.
I really like the idea of it as well. And I think because the internet's such a powerful tool now, and I'm not saying I've only just discovered it, but, especially as a wrestling community, We all use it on a daily basis, and it's so important for good business. So for you to use that strategy and to allow wrestlers, yourself, and fans, and the students, and everyone basically to sort of communicate with each other and to sort of just give everyone a bit of advice and training. I really like the concept, and I think it's great. I really do. I basically will put this in the description. And I know you got Justin Credible. You got Justin Credible. Was it this weekend?
Yeah, so we have Justin Credible on. That's tomorrow. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. I seen that you had him on the show as well. He's a really sound guy. I'm looking forward to getting him on. The guy's a former ECW world champion.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time on the road with like Shawn Michaels and Triple H. So I think if he can share if he can just drop one knowledge bomb on us, you know what I mean, he'll blow us away.
It'll be worth it.
I think he's going to drop several. So I'm really looking forward to that.
He's a good guest.
In terms of like big classes we got on, we got Hector Guerrero coming on as well, and I believe that's in June. We've got Doug Williams as well. So just like I said, it's
a
Doug
true
Williams
teaching. Not even just British wrestling, but wrestling.
Absolutely, the ambassador. Like you got Doug Williams one week teaching who better to teach you about British wrestling than the ambassador, and then who better to teach you about lucha libre than one of the Guerrero family. You know what I mean?
Like
so it's
Hector Guerrero. That is a good guess.
Exactly. So it's lots of different styles, lots of different outlooks, and just try to give people as much knowledge as they can get.
I like that. There's so much variety as well. But no, that's good, man. I'm gonna have to check one of them out. I probably will. I might have to say hi to Justin again.
That's all right.
But no, that'd be good, man. As I had him on cheap plug on What You Call It podcast. So let's talk about how I know you. And it was basically because ICW joined the network. I sort of dip in and dip out of different wrestling promotions as well. I mean, WWE is sort of what I mostly watch, but it's Insane Championship Wrestling and ICW. So you made your debut, nearly 10 years ago now, about that? And it was...
about 8 years ago.
And the pay-per-view name just cracks me up, by the way. Spaceballs episode. Is it episode 4 that A New Hope? I
believe so.
So I'm immature. But yeah, so straight face. So basically, how did you end up there? What was that like for you? I just want to hear about it. If this part here, I may not ask questions because I just want to have a chat to you about it. What's it been like for you so far? Because you only recently just lost the tag team championship, which we mentioned at the beginning. So let's start off with, how did you get there?
And so I'd been doing a lot of just paying my dues, the way you expect, building the ring, doing ringside security, doing all that kind of stuff. And I was always just like I do now, just try to put myself in front of as many eyes as possible and just try to make sure people know who I was. And I'd been doing quite a bit on the Scottish scene, a lot of the kind of smaller promotions and stuff, and a lot of the family shows had been picking me up. And I think Dallas kind of knew about that. Then when Spaceballs came about, the whole kind of idea behind the Spaceballs shows, because there was a few of them, was that those would be the shows where sort of younger guys would get a chance. So that's why I came in there with my debut and wrestled Chris Renfrew. But I was in a good position to be put in with Renfrew so early. Obviously, he was part of the NAK at the time and was very much like a kind of main event guy. And getting to come in and share the ring with somebody who was in a good position, it put a lot of eyes on me, and it sort of made people take notice of me. And just early, especially in the kind of early days, like anytime I got a chance to show what I could do, I really tried everything I could to grab it. And I was getting put in with a lot of good people. I was learning a lot. And it just ICW was blowing up, even though I was very, very early on in my ICW career. I still did get to witness the boom sort of period with Insane Fight Club and all the sort of documentaries on BBC and the shows like Hydro and all that kind of stuff. So even though I was a sort of small cog in the machine, I was still lucky enough to be there and get to witness these big crowds and to see all these new eyes coming to the product and to be a part of the biggest boom in British wrestling since the World of Sport days. Was amazing. And like we were talking about earlier, just being in the garage and being in front of that crowd is such a unique experience. It's addictive. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to stop. You know, working for ICW, and I don't ever want to stop wrestling in the garage. I could be the WWE champion, and I'd still want to
back
be there. Yeah, I'd still want to do it. So I mean, I don't really know how to sum it up. It's been brilliant. I think I've been incredibly lucky. And I'm looking forward. It's by no means is it anywhere close to over. We've only just went on our first tag team title run. There's either gonna be one very, very long one, or there's gonna be many. So
Mate, some of the best tag teams
we're getting right back in it.
Many tag team title reigns. What is it that makes ICW special? Because obviously I'm in Essex, and we have promotions like Progress and Rev Pro, well, more London based, but in the South basically. And they have their following, and they do quite bigger shows. But ICW just has something special. Like you said, the Boom Period, the Hydro, you know, you had so much attention, and you had some of the biggest names coming to your brand, basically. Mick Foley, RVD, you know, just some of the names, Ricochet. If you had to sort of explain to a casual fan, what is ICW and what does it make it special? What makes it special, basically?
I think each promotion has their kind of selling point. Like you were talking about Progress, and they're really big on like their strong style stuff, and fans of strong style wrestling they flock to Progress to see it.
Yeah.
But that's one style of wrestling, and some people want to see something a bit grittier and want to see something a bit wilder, and that's what makes ICW special. Is it's in the name, it's insane, it's madness. You know what I mean? It's in the best way possible. It's trash TV. It's wrestling the way that it used to be. It's wrestling like it was when you were growing up. You know what I mean? There's guys who are there. It's very, very much the kind of same things you hear people saying about ECW. There's guys who are there. They're some of the best technical wrestlers in the world, and they're brilliant. But there's also guys like me who are throwing bins and chairs and everything else, and it's spilling into the crowd, and they're jumping off the roof, and it's just wild. And from a fan perspective, it's fun to go to a family show and clap and cheer the baby faces and boo the heels and get a foam hand at the break and whatever else. But
the sort of family shows,
But if you're 18 to 35 and it's a Saturday night or a Sunday night, it's a lot more appealing to go to ICW where you can get a drink. It's in a nightclub. The wrestling isn't in front of you in the ring. It's almost on top of you.
You can chart whatever you want as well. Like.
Exactly. Like there's no sort of restrictions. You know what I mean? You if you think that guy's is a dick, tell him he's a dick. Like that's fine. You can get pissed up and have a good time. And it's sometimes it's good to take the kids to the singing kettle, but sometimes you want to go to a rock and roll show. You know what I mean? And that's what ICW is. It's rock and roll wrestling.
That's a good way of putting it, mate. I just like some of the shows I've seen, madness. I get jealous, and the vibe that I get is I want to be there. So, what have been some of your favorite matches and some of your favorite memories of ICW for your career?
My favorite match in ICW definitely was the death match with Crowbar. I've been sort of asking for an opportunity like that. When I started wrestling, I was very much a kind of comedy guy. Obviously, the sort of smaller guy, you got the getting flung around and whatever else. And I was like, I'm taking all these big bumps for comedic effect, whereas I could be getting a sort of different reaction by doing the similar thing, because some people were taking the same bumps I would take, or bumps less than what I would take, and everyone's going, "Oh my god, I see dub," and they're losing their mind. Whereas, like, Wolfgang's tossing me from the middle of the ring into the crowd, and they're laughing and going, Looking Sharp so short. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, Looking Sharp just like got tossed across the nightclub and landed on the floor. You know what I mean? So I was like, no, I want to embrace that, and I want to make that my thing. I want people to look at that in a different light. So I said I want to get into the kind of hardcore stuff and the death match stuff. And again, I always did, like I said, it's rock and roll wrestling. That at least that's my perception of it. That's what the fans wanted. They wanted rock and roll. They want madness. They want a bit of aggression. And that's what I wanted to give them. So that was my first chance to really go in and say, this is what I can do, and I'm here. now, and I'm ready to do this. You know what I mean? I'm not just this comedy guy. And sort of personally, I felt like I was saying I'm not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because when I debuted in ICW, I wasn't old enough to be in the building. You know what I mean? Like, I was only 16 years old when I debuted for ICW. I was wrestling in nightclubs and they used to chant, "Oh, you've got school in the morning." And
sorry,
they always chanted that at like shorter guys. They just chant, "You've got school in the morning." But with me, I did like I did have school in the morning. You know what I mean? And I would make a joke of it. I tell them, "Well, I got English first, I got maths second." You know what I mean? But again, and the fans had sort of seen me growing up. Like, I feel like I've had this really sort of unique connection with them, where they see me. They've watched me grow up in the garage, and I feel like that death match was me saying like, this is I'm a man now. You know what I mean? I had my time where I was a young boy and I was a comedy guy, but I'm here to show people what I've got now. What I've learned from growing up in this business.
That's great, man. So I'm still laughing a bit at that. You've got school in the morning. Never heard that before, surprisingly. So, as I said earlier, I am quite mature. So
that's right. That's right.
But no, it's good to hear sort of your breakdown sort of become basically, kidulthood to adulthood, basically. That's good, man. I just want to talk about. I know you've wrestled the Young Bucks and Devon Dudley. And I know you spoke about them before, so I just want to know. I just basically want to have you speak about them on the podcast as well. I just want to know what's that like for you personally to work with them, and also I do want to ask. Actually, no, I'll wait for the question first. I'll wait for your answer. I jump the gun sometimes. My bad. So,
all three of them is. There's probably two biggest matches I've had. Was the match with the Young Bucks and the match with Devon Dudley. I'll start with the Young Bucks. Like, I'd only just debuted for Discovery Wrestling. I had one match for this promotion before then, and I believe it was only their second show that they'd ever ran. Obviously, they're one of Scotland's biggest, one of the UK's biggest promotions now.
Yeah.
And I showed up, and I didn't even have my gear on, and the promoter pulls me aside, and he's like, "Are you free for our next show?" I'm like, "Yeah." He tells me he's putting me in with the Young Bucks. And I was like, okay, like, this is, do you know what I mean? In my head, I'm like, I need to show up here and, try and get on to the next show. And before I even put my gear on, he's telling me I'm going to work the Young Bucks.
And then you end up working with one of the hottest tag teams in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, it was wild. And at the time, I'd been doing this. I went on to do their stuff with Joe Hendry. And that was the sort of beginning of that. And that also led to me working with Tommy Dreamer as well later on in the feud. So Discovery has been brilliant for my career in that sort of sense, for who I've had the chance to work with, and obviously even getting to work with Joe. Joe's went on to Ring of Honor and the Commonwealth Games and all kinds of things.
No, I really like his videos and sort of the intro videos.
Yeah. He's so creative and so charismatic. And getting to sort of have him in there alongside me while we were working with them was really good. But they are just a different class of wrestler. Like, people don't understand. Like, even if you don't like that style of wrestling,
you gotta appreciate what they do.
Yeah, they are just as wrestlers, just as pro wrestlers, they are a different breed. Like, they're amazing. Like, even if you don't like what they do, that's fine. But you can't help but appreciate that these guys are incredibly talented.
Yeah, just like their timing and like athleticism.
Absolutely,
as well.
Absolutely. The best tag team in the world, and I think they're the best tag team for a long time. Like, it's been a long time since there's been any tag team that has that kind of that chemistry and connection, and it's just so over as well. And getting to work with them while they were so over on the indies and while they were going everywhere, and people were flocking to see them, I was very lucky to have witnessed that and been a part of it for a night.
That's cool, man. I'd like to know about the name, by the way, because I like Just Incredible, for example. That took me years to actually get what it was. I'm a bit thick, so I want to know, how did you come up with the name? Because it is fucking cool. I really like it. I think I was pronounced like Liu Kang, like from quite a while ago, and then I was like, Looking sharp.
So it's not very exciting. I went to school with a boy, and his name was Harry Sharp, but his middle name was Luke. So it was Luke Sharp, and I was like, oh no, that's cool. That's cool. And this is like this while I was in high school, so I debuted. So I was like, I used your name at the weekend. But I was speaking to my uncle, the same one that got me into wrestling, and I believe it was him that added the King. And I just thought, well, that's kind of different, like a free tier name kind of thing. So again, I just thought, right, I'll go with that. It's pretty cool. And it's just something that makes me a wee bit different from everybody else.
So you really did have school in the morning then?
So I did. For several years, I was wrestling on the indie scene, and I had school the next day.
Oh wow!
I remember when I won the Pro Wrestling Elite Tag Team titles. I can't remember what it was my gym teacher said, but they made some comment about how I wasn't an athlete or something. They made some comment to me in PE class, and I just fucking swaggered in the next day. It was like on the Friday or whatever, they said something, and I won the PW tag titles at the weekend. Swaggered back in on the Monday with my fucking belts. You know what I mean? I ain't no athlete.
You were saying.
That was cool.
I thought it was going to be from the. We'll send her the link to this. I mean, if it gets more views for us, I'm happy with that. Take that. Like, I hope don't report it, please. I thought it was going to be from like Dizzy Rascal song, like "Fix Up, Look Sharp," something like that.
When that came after the name, I did like Dizzy Rascal, and just as soon as I think it must have been the first song I listened to after I come up with the name, was like, oh, hold on, like what I mean? It's coming together now.
It's a wicked song, man. Basically, to wrap this up, I really enjoyed this interview, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Been a good laugh and a good chat as well. I've learned a lot myself. I'd basically like to know, because I know you're a big gamer, what you're currently playing at the moment, and what's your favourite console of all time?
All right, that's a hard one. What I'm playing right now, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I used to really, really love the Assassin's Creed series, and then when I felt like they were bringing it, there was like when it became like a yearly release.
Yeah.
So I overdone it a bit for me. I sort of fell away for a few years. But my wee brother, he's always been right into it, and I've been watching him playing them and stuff, and that caught my eye again. And Valhalla is just amazing. It's brilliant. It doesn't really feel so much like an Assassin's Creed game that I'm used to, but just in terms of like an RPG, it's brilliant. Yeah, I'm really enjoying that. In terms of my favorite console of all time, I mean, I think I may have to say the PS2, which I feel like it's a pretty basic answer, but I'm stuck between the PS2 and the GameCube.
GameCube would have got a better reaction from me.
Really, got that sort of nostalgic feeling for. So I'm gonna stick with either PS2 or the GameCube. Maybe a joint answer.
Not to say I didn't like the PS2, but I just had nothing but trouble with it. Like, it'd always just take ages. Games would get broken easily. It was just a pain. It was slow. I mean, was that
PS2?
GameCube I loved. The discs were a bit of a nightmare, the size of them. And sometimes if I was, in a rush, broke, I'll get new one. But no, that's cool. I mean, I love the GameCube as well. So we're gonna sort of come to an end. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I just want to know, what's it like for you to be wrestling on the network, which is watched by millions and millions of people? Not trying to do the rock then, but just like as a fan. I mean, I saw myself on Progress for like 3 seconds, and I'm coming from the toilet, and you just see me walking. I screenshot and sent it to everyone. So I can't imagine what it's like for you to, that if you search your name, you come up. You search me, no one cares. So I just want to know, for you as a fan and as a wrestler, what's it like for you to be on the network?
I mean, as a wrestler, it's like one of the biggest honors that you can get. It's performing on the biggest stage. That anybody in any sport wants to be on the biggest stage they can possibly be. If you're a football player, you want to play in the Champions League. You know what I mean? If you're in the NBA, you want to be in the playoffs. For a wrestler, being in the WWE, that's the biggest game that you can be on, and being on their network and all of their fans having access to me is an incredible honor, and it's going to do big things for my career, I hope. But the much more exciting answer as a fan is it's really fucking cool. Like, it's really
Honestly,
fucking
man,
cool.
it's just that's awesome. Like, it's just
Like, I just, like you were saying about searching your name, like, I'm the biggest wrestling mark in the fucking world. I don't care.
you've done it a few times, haven't you?
Like 100%. Like, I lose my mind. Like, I search my name and then it comes up, you know, next to Captain Lou Albano. Like, what? You know what I mean? Next to Lou Fez, all the great Lou's were all there. You know what I mean?
I mean, who are those? No one cares about them.
Exactly. Those guys are B show guys, man.
Yeah, man, it's just a couple of jobbers. That's a joke, by the way. Anyone, you'll get some purists. They'll comment like,
yeah, we're gonna really break some hearts for that one. They're great.
Yeah,
Great.
you know what you're talking about. Nah, imagine it being cool, man, and especially you get to do it for your favorite company in your country, and you get to be in the network and the biggest platform. So that's awesome, man. So I want to thank you for coming on to What Do You Call It podcast today. I really enjoyed this. I'll salute you with my own brew, and I didn't just buy it for today, by the way. As you can see, they're multi-pack cans. So I drink them a lot, but I have to brush my teeth extra harder. Where can fans find you on social media?
So it's at Lou King Sharp UK on Twitter and on Instagram. You can get me at Lou King Sharp on Facebook, Lou King Sharp TV on YouTube. And if there's any aspiring wrestlers watching or anybody who just wants to know a bit more about the wrestling business, you can join LKS Online Dojo on Facebook. Just search us in the search bar and hit groups and we'll be right there at the top. You can join me, Hector Guerrero, Selena De La Renta, Just Incredible, and a million other of the biggest names in the wrestling industry. And they're coming to share knowledge with yourself. So it would be a pleasure to have you.
All that information will be in the description. Thank you for your time, and everyone, have a good bank holiday weekend, unless you're in America, because that means nothing. Take care.